All right, we're live.
Okay, so we're live?
Apparently so.
Okay. All right, well, so what's up, Rupert?
We're live. Sorry about that. I'm testing the waters there to see what we look like on the thing. It's a little fuzzy, I think, but I think we'll be all right. So, oh no, we're good. All right, I'm gonna pause that so we don't have to. This is some amateur hour stuff right now, but anyway,
Right.
let's do it.
Okay, so what's up? How's it going?
Not too bad. Just kind of same old sort of. Trying to make it in this mad world, I guess. Trying to come up with a way to make it through and keep my white balance from making me look like macaroni and cheese. So yeah.
It's tough. Life's you don't always get what you want, right?
That's pretty much that's kind of it.
Seems like we get what we need. So, anyways, man. So we're going to talk about something pretty light and pretty fun today. We're going to talk about pedophilia.
Okay.
And so you've got a pretty crazy story, dude. You're pretty crazy. You've done some pretty I'm kidding, pretty crazy things, pretty brave and honorable things recently. You've gone on a kind of heroic adventure that not many dare to embark on, and that's what we're going to talk about. Essentially, so just, I don't know, man, just tell us about it, about you going traveling across the world to fight, to expose pedophiles. Essentially, I'll just let you tell it.
I mean, the initial thing was, I started talking about a specific case of this that went on in it was in England. I'm pretty much, there's people watching right now, I'm sure, that are like, oh, say something so we can call the cops again. So that's not going to happen. I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but it's not really that hard to figure out, what it was that I got involved in. But sure. What happened was, as soon as I announced the trip and set up modes of and methods by which I could have the public help me, not only investigate, but pay for travel and living arrangements and stuff like that, I was, through my radio stuff that I was doing at the time, was put in contact with somebody who was going to Italy to do some protesting at the Vatican.
Okay, that's right. Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in. What, you were with Pirate Radio or something like that? What was it?
Yeah, the name of the radio was
it Free Domain? Freedom?
No, it was American Freedom Radio is what I was on when I left America, but I've been on 3 or 4 radio stations. So That was the one that I was on when I left. And we went over to, we stayed right down the street from the edge of Vatican City. I was there every day except for the days that we left to go. We went to some other places. We spent a night in Pisa, and we also went up to Venice for a couple of nights to get some good video there. That protest had to do with global depopulation methods. People thought I was running around Vatican City chasing pedophiles, and that's not the case.
Okay.
They're aware of their transgressions, whereas that is concerned. So any activist that comes around, I'm sure they're thinking about it. Like, they're thinking, oh my God.
Sure. It makes sense.
It wasn't without its danger completely. We stayed there I was there for 6 weeks. Stayed in one place that was kind of like on top of a building. For all intents and purposes, it was a penthouse. Okay. Then we moved over near the Coliseum, and we were just taking video and we were just making YouTube videos that exposed what it was we were there for. But a lot of it was done in a poetic way and to music. It's actually a scene in the movie Seven sort of inspired the entire like way we were shooting. So after that, I went to Amsterdam for about a month, detractors online were telling me that I was only there to like go to the red light district and to smoke pot, and that I was being a cheat but that's not it's not how it went down at all. You're
Sure.
just trying to get on my nerves. Some people even sent money and were like, "This is for pot." Like, use this on pot, because I just said that that's what I want you to use it for, because they were responding to people who were saying that I was being immoral. So then after that, I went out to Canary Islands to spend time with one of my donors, and then somebody who was also involved in the same case in England. And then I actually went into England.
Okay. Okay. So, so what exactly were you kind of trying to like protest or come against or uncover while you were there?
This is the funny thing, is that everybody thinks like they all told me what I was doing, but the simple fact of the matter is I didn't even know what I was doing. Everybody was like, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this, he's doing that. And none of that was true at all. It was just, at a certain point, I realized, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of hate here. It was all that hate that slid me across the pond in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
As a YouTuber, when you get people that start to hate you, that's when you know that you touched a nerve and that you're starting to do the right thing, because everybody who starts to get a following ends up with a bunch of haters.
Yep.
I was like, okay, there's tension there. I can use that. So I used that tension to basically get me to where I was, and everybody just seemed to know what it was I was doing, but I did not know what I was doing. I was there to observe. I was there to protest a little bit, I guess, but mostly I was there to observe and just to see what it was they would do. Like, what are these people going to do? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So can I ask you just a couple things then relating to that?
Yeah, you can. Some of them I won't answer. If it's something that I think will get me back in some sort of trouble, then I will definitely deny answering it.
That's pretty reasonable. So yeah, how did this start? What got you on this path? Like, how did you find out about this stuff, and just where did this originally start?
You have to go back pretty far for that. I started studying probably at the advent of the internet. I started studying apocalypse theory, biblical stuff. And then once I had read myself to a point where it was almost like I was going to drive myself crazy with it, looking for it everywhere, waiting for the tidal wave to come, I just kind of put that down and just started passively watching. And I've always been active as sort of an activist. I have two letters from sitting presidents from when I was 10 or 11, and then 12 or 13, another president wrote to me. So I've been active in politics since I was young.
Yeah.
But this particular go around started, I had made a decision when I was younger. I wanted to figure out what about the world felt wrong to me.
Mm.
And then through studying alternate theories about 9/11 or some of the other things that have happened in recent years, what I discovered is that it seemed like there was a small group of people who are actually kind of got their fingers on the levers, and they're the ones sort of manipulating everybody. And I whittled it down to several things that it seems like they're into and involved with that are causing problems and would be sort of silver bullet issues, if you will, to like get them to knock it off. And one of those is children that are being used for things like blackmail, or just because these people, it's almost like people do this stuff just because they need to prove to themselves that they're still above reproach. You know what I mean? You understand what I mean? It's almost like they continue doing it because they want to, all right, I will break this law, and then I will sit back and watch myself not get in trouble for it.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
I mean, it seems to be, because I've had to cram my face down in this. So that's what it seems like some of this is people are like, all right, I have this predilection towards something I'm not supposed to, but I also have a social power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this really awful thing. And then I'm going to like sit back and watch myself not get in trouble for it. And I think that there's a cycle that's perpetuated in that.
It almost becomes like an addiction to power. It's like a combination of addiction to like lust, taboo, and power.
Correct.
That seems a pretty terribly powerful, sinful combination. That sucks. That's messed up.
It is. I think anybody who's into something that is taboo has a tendency to push it further and further. If you study like somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer, if you study how he went down his road, it all started with, it's really weird. And the thing was, he was an articulate person who was able to describe his descent. He was very intelligent, but he didn't have anybody to tell. Like when when he's coming of age, he's associating, murder, death, and sex with each other. Who are you going to tell that to? Like, wow. I mean, your dad, your school counselor. So I think that's just those people like him are just the lone wolf offenders. There's other people who are in groups, and
yes,
we've seen recently people go through court with the NXIVM trial and plead guilty. Detractors of me, they're always like, they have this thing, they've been relying on this decades old notion of satanic panic, where the media came through and kind of shut down narratives about abuse, satanic ritualistic abuse, and they just go, oh well, that's just leftover satanic panic. But no, when you start peeling back the layers of this NXIVM thing, especially with the leader, this Rainier guy, he even had some kind of patent he was working on or something having to do, and it had Satanism in the title. All this stuff it's once you start down that slippery slope, it is hard to come back up for most of these people. They don't care either, because there's no incentive for them to stop the behavior. It's not like they're going to run out of money. It's not like they're going to run out of power.
And it's almost like there's the incentive to not come out of it. It's almost like, I don't know as much as you. I don't know that much, but you're talking about blackmail, right? And I'm assuming most people who get involved with this, it's like, how do you get out of it and think that your secret will be safe? It's almost like a gang. It's like if you leave, there's going to be repercussions. Is there that aspect to it too?
Well, the repercussion is they usually will videotape you doing things you're not supposed to.
Right.
For the American military, you can go listen to, I think her name is Pam Griggs. When her husband died, he was an attendee of Bohemian Grove.
Okay.
And he was obsessed with that whole thing. And when he died, she basically spilled the beans on him that he had to do homosexual things with his superiors in order to maintain the inner circle.
Yeah.
The same thing is true with children being used nationally and internationally as blackmail. They'll just tape you. They'll just videotape you doing something you're not supposed to, right. And then you'll never talk. Whatever it is, it's not just that. That's just the glue that holds it together. These are people who are, they're doing business deals, like backroom business deals. So they're like making money from each other. They're rigging the system, and then they use their predilections for partying or for just straight up abusing kids. Like some of the stuff that you hear about, like stuff they found on Anthony Weiner's laptop, which has now been entered in as evidence to the NXIVM trial. That's like the Rosetta Stone of bringing down what basically is a cabal. And it's not, I'm just the messenger. People want to take me down, I guess, because when I talk, people listen and they react to it, but I'm a nobody. But I was treated as though I was some kind of horrible international problem. But it was just because I was pointing a finger at something that they've spent millions of dollars shutting it down. I mean, right now they're going after people in England with they're trying to section them. We would say maybe that's called being committed, but they're trying to get these people put in a facility where there's sort of an indefinite detention. The same thing exists in America. If you end up in a like a mental hospital,
yeah,
you end up you end up like you're stuck. You're not going anywhere until until you talk your way out of it.
Sure.
Or something happens that you manage to get out of it. So that's what they're trying to do to certain people.
Yeah.
And it's just because they can't afford right now to have this negative press about themselves. And I don't blame them, but abusing people who are trying to blow the whistle on stuff that's hi puppy. Yeah, people trying to blow the whistle or whatever. They're getting. It's just what are the odds that every single whistleblower on a specific case are dirty? You know what I mean? Like instead of allowing the burden of proof to be on them for your dog's tripping out.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, man. Hang on. Hang on 1 second.
All right.
Hey, sorry.
Anyway, just for the sake of the live stream, I'll keep talking. But
okay, yep.
Yeah, you'll probably have to redirect me with another question. But it's a.
Well, yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah, good.
Oh, sorry, my friend. Sorry, everybody else. Yeah. So okay. So what is the tie-in? Why are they all seemingly Satanists?
That's a tough question because there's so many different. What'd you say?
Sorry. Is there a literal demonic element to all of this?
Well, yeah, I would say depends on who you ask. There's a lot of people going to tell you that you're succumbing to satanic panic, but I can tell you that if you're already watching this and it's going to be uncomfortable, take your kids away from but there's something about pre-adolescent, prepubescent child energy and the like kundalini type energy that's involved with an anal rape. These people sort of they're robbing people of their innocence, and somehow are it's energy vampirism. And then if you want to, you can believe what you want as a human being. You can believe that there's entities on the other side. I think I've experienced enough weird stuff to believe that there probably are some energies on the other side of reality. And yeah, I think that the fear and misery that's created after the fact allows for negative energy to proliferate itself. So yeah, I think that there is some kind of a, and they just think about how evil has been made to look chic and sexy and powerful. And there's more of a draw there. And then just to people think it's fun to rail on Christians and act like Christians are a problem, or that they're obtuse or unintelligent or uneducated. And in many cases, especially in America, they are. But the left wants you to say, well, you can't judge an entire group by one person, yet, well, okay, unless it's Christians, I guess, or unless it's something you don't like, then you can judge an entire group of people by that. So exactly. I think that they simultaneously, the left are, even on a low level, are engaging demonic energy, calling it something else, and simultaneously pointing a finger at all Christians, being like, you're dumb, you're stupid, you don't understand this. Even though what you're doing has every bit, it's like, well, you're stupid for believing in Christianity, but they're believing in the opposite of Christianity and acting like it's fun and it's attractive. One doesn't exist without the other. Like, they're engaging the dark side, but saying that the light side doesn't even exist. It's really stupid. It seems really, really unintelligent to me. Just admit what you are.
Yeah, well, it is, and it's. I mean, hey, sorry about that.
That's all right. There you go.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. It's retarded in the technical sense. It's as it says in the Bible. We're both Christians. We both believe in God, the Christian God. And as it says, it's this wicked generation. I think it's talking about this generation, or at least it seems to be. When it says, they who call good evil and evil good. It's exactly what I see when I look out into society right now. And there's also other interesting parallels. You know what I mean? Like the Democrats, the Democrats, people on the right or on the right-hand path. I've kind of stepped away from politics a little bit because I do, we realize that it is just kind of a system of control where both sides, it seems like for the most part, are bought out. I'm kind of trying to figure out, the whole Trump thing. But no, totally. It's insane. The left does seem to be possessed and blind. They seem blinded. They're just pushing for everything that is honestly satanic.
But they don't see it. Like, they don't see it like that. And if you want to bring it up to them like that, but they're trying to make, they don't understand that there's a force pushing them to be like they are. And you see what I mean? Like, there's a force pushing them to behave like they're behaving, but they will not admit it.
Sure.
They will not.
I can identify with it.
Come out and say, yeah, I'm evil.
Yeah.
But I mean, basically a vote for Hillary. Like, they made. Let's talk about this for a second. They made fun of Pizzagate like it was a joke. No, they're like, it was in the basement of a pizzeria. No, nobody said it was in the basement. Nobody followed the. Most of the researchers got physically threatened. Like, somebody hid outside of Titus Frost's house, and somebody spotted this person in the bushes, and they came and arrested the guy. Somebody drove their car into Titus Frost's car and demolished it while he was asleep one night. All the people who were doing decent research about it got basically scared out of it. David Seaman, he was another one. He had to go and hide in the hills because he was getting threats. People were saying things about him. They were trying to get him. He's disappeared off the map. So the thing is that the basement that they showed in the pictures of the Comet Ping Pong Instagram account were not in the basement of the pizzeria. They were in the basement of another building owned by James Alefantis. So everybody on the left, when they want to joke about conspiracy theorists and how stupid they are, they bring up this non-existent basement. But the person who was the progenitor of that little bit was John Podesta himself. He was like on the whatever news network saying that, well, they said that we had a pedophile ring running out of the basement of a pizza joint. And it's like, no, that's not what we said. That's not what anybody said. What they actually did was they looked up all the places that were owned by James Alefantis. They looked at these telltale 3 bricks that were in the basement on one of the walls. And then they went to the outside of the building and matched it up with those same bricks that were on the outside. They got an outside shot of what they were witnessing from the inside. They were like, yeah, it's in there. Days later, they went back and they took down, it was called the Pegasus Museum. They went in and they nixed it. They took it down. They took the listing off of Google as a museum. But that was the building they were talking about. It's where the walk-in was. They called it the torture room. Like that was real. Those were all real things that happened. And running a risk here, running a serious risk of implicating myself and violating an international gag order. Both of the cases in America and in England were almost identical. The leaders were allowed to go on TV, and they were asked softball questions. They were allowed to sit there and say how afraid they were. But, you know, we have James Alefantis on the phone and in texts threatening people's lives. He's also listed. He was listed as one of the most influential people in Washington. And all he does is he was dating the guy from the Washington Post, and he was a pizzeria owner. If you look at their books are suspicious. And then finally, they went and there was a page, like a back page on the Comet Pizza website, and somebody cracked into it and they found child porn. Like, the guy was basically selling child porn through the website. They sent all the details to the Washington, D.C. Police Department, and thus far, nothing really has come of it. But what we're waiting for now is some of this Nexium stuff to break through in court, because it sounds like they're still going after people for that. It sounds like they're still going to there's a lot of indictments that are sealed that we may not find out about. But I do know one thing. You don't hear a peep out of Hillary these days. This is an election cycle. I mean, even if she was not going to involve herself in the race, she would be another Karl Rove-like character that shows up to give analysis and, you know, keep their face fresh in the news so that they can continue to sell books or whatever.
Yep.
She's nowhere to be found. She's hiding, or she's in trouble and not telling anybody. Because think about it. Somebody who's been in the game as long as she has, sitting out a presidential cycle, she's got to be sitting there chomping on the bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree. So what do you make of Trump? Because, like, I was a big supporter of his. You know, I'm Canadian, but I was on social media, you know, battling people in comment sections and all that. And but, you know, then you see images of him doing Masonic handshakes and, you know, chumming it up with Jesuits. What's your take on Trump?
Trump is someone who's been a socialite for many years. He's sort of an unsavory character in that he represents the good time we're all not having. I remember I lived in New York City at the same time as him, and he really is a New Yorker's nightmare, because every nice thing that you do, he does a better version of it. And it's sort of, you always have that hanging over your head when you're there, that he's got properties and he's got this and he's got social prowess and he can go anywhere he wants for dinner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you watch I think it's Adam Curtis did a movie called Hypernormalization. And in the beginning of the movie, you see how Donald Trump was the one who basically handed all of our power over to the banks. Once he started purchasing, he would get the banks he would borrow the money from the banks to purchase the buildings, and then he would fix the buildings up and sell them to high-income renters or people who were purchasing, you know, flats in the building. Once he did that, this Hypernormalization by Adam Curtis will show you everything that Donald Trump did in the beginning to start to slide the power away from the people, especially of New York City, into the hands of the bankers. So I think he felt guilty about that, and he also probably feels guilty about some of the things he said and done as a younger man in business in New York, and wanted to, because you could tell when he won the election, he didn't think he was going to win at all. And he sort of seemed reluctant, like, oh God, what did I just do? I just bit off a lot. So as a personality, of course, I don't like him. I don't think anybody who's worth their salt isn't going to like a person like that, because he's ultimately sort of fake. Kind of in a way talks like a valley girl, because I think maybe he hangs around with a lot of young people or something. I don't know what his deal is, but when you look at campaign promises upheld, he checks that box off better than anybody. When you look at what it seems like, because people go, oh, well, he went to Jeffrey Epstein's island and he was on the Lolita Express and there's supposedly a video of him doing something. Okay, fine. Where's the Russian pee-pee tape? Haven't seen that yet. Where's the worst thing they got him saying was that if you're famous and rich, women will let you grab them by the pussy. He said let, which is not just I'm gonna walk up. Everybody who's gone up against him has fallen by the wayside. Stormy Daniels had to admit that she was lying. She now owes him a couple $100,000. Everybody that's gone up against him has fallen by the wayside because I think there's a hidden force pushing that man. I think it's members of the military. I think it's the good side is using the good parts of him to try to mend fences and to try to put things back the way they're supposed to be. Because as of right now in the world, we're it. If this country falls, then that's it. Like we're all doomed. The fact that America has a lot of guns is to everybody's benefit. Yep. Anything that the mainstream media is trying to teach you to hate or go against, you should be for it. So if like the mainstream media was all about some Obama, but I wasn't. Now I gave him a chance, but after a while I was like, nah, this guy's not doing anything that I was hoping he would do.
Yeah.
If the mainstream media is telling you to be against it, you should probably look at it as something that you might want to either be for or understand why they're doing that.
Yep.
Fake news, Donald Trump. Anytime somebody brings up 9/11 truth or anything that would chip away at a narrative.
Yep.
Anything that the mainstream media is trying to tell you not to like, I would look into it and just be like, maybe I should investigate this a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think we're at a point where, like, I would almost say majority. I would almost say more than 50% of people, I would think like this. Maybe it's just me running in certain circles, and my perception is thrown off because of that. But there's certainly losing a ton of credibility. And nobody even watches CNN anymore. It's like everybody's going to people, like people like Joe Rogan. I have my own thoughts about Joe Rogan. I don't really trust him anymore, but it's like the people are taking the power of information back because these things are coming out.
It's better to get your news. It's better to, I call it like the spaghetti theory. You just pick up as much spaghetti as you can and you smack it against the wall. Some of the stuff's going to fall off over time and some of it's just going to stick there. And whatever's left up there, whatever rings true to you, whatever seems like it's real to you, that's probably what's real. It's just how it's the same thing as growing up. Like you when you're little, you have ideas that aren't true. You have expectations that aren't going to go anywhere because it's just not how the world works. And as you get older, you realize how the world works, and then you adjust. You learn what you learn how it works, and you adjust to that. And I think that's the learning process. We should like the other night. I was, if I say anything that seems like it goes against what my certain friends think, all their friends will gang up on me in the comment section. It's just funny. Like it all becomes about me, who I am as a person, rather than the ideas that I'm trying to bring forth or even challenge you on. So it's the homogenization of the left's narrative is another thing that really trips me out. But that doesn't have anything to do with the state of pedophilia. It sort of does. I guess I have a little cartoon here. The panels of the cartoon are basically like it shows a man and he's got like a paper plate over his face, and on it is written the words drag kids. You've seen these drag queen kids, right? It says, hey, LGBT, why do you always wear that mask? And then they lift up the mask and it says pederasty. And then they put the thing back on and it says, let's keep this on. because it's just. I saw another picture the other day where these like protesters are marching with signs that say, we don't, something about your kids, and if they're gay, we want to make sure that they make it through. It's like, okay, you are concerning yourself with the sexuality of children. How is that cool? How is that okay that you are concerning yourself with the sexuality of other people's children, let alone adults? Like, I honestly don't care. Like, don't make your problems my problem. But some of the blowback that has happened in the wake of all of this, all of this LGBTQ plus crowd, people are sick of hearing about it. It has been, Streisand effect to death. People are done. I'm sick of hearing about it. I've been hearing about it for 20 years. Like, I'm tired of having to consider someone else's sexuality. I'm tired of having to think about, what other people think about what I think. I'm sick of it. And I think a lot of people in that, they have that same sort of gripe in their guts. So they're just going to do the opposite of what it is that those people want. It's almost like they're creating their own haters by they're still acting like they're in the minority, but they might be in a minority in actual numbers, but they're not in a minority in the way that they're perceived, the way that their agenda is pushed. And yes, they do have an agenda. This could, anybody watching this might completely torpedo my friendship with him. And if that's all it takes is a difference of opinion, then fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's they're not the minority in terms of airtime.
No.
In terms of like propaganda airtime.
They've just been winning and winning and winning for the past 10 or 15 years.
Oh, they're crushing it. Yeah, they're crushing.
They're crushing it, but they still have the audacity to act like they're in the minority and that they're being persecuted. They're not. It's almost like the better that they do with getting their narrative across, which is, if people are getting beaten up and drugged behind trucks and stuff like that, we don't need that. But they're much more accepted in society to the point where it almost seems very chic and hip and cool to be gay or to be of a different.
Are turning gay and deciding to get sex rearrangement surgeries.
Reassignment
to be cool. It's insane.
Well, they're giving kids hormonal therapy, and that's just abuse. Like, I know some people who are social workers, and they say if you're over 25 and you want to like do whatever, like, who cares? But if your parents are pushing you to be something that just so that they can go, hey, my kid, look at my kid. They're living vicariously through their kid. But it's not like the kids playing drums or riding a motocross bike, or professional fishing really well at a young age. It's stuff having to do with their body chemistry and their sexuality. And this is all
you can step off of a motorcycle. You can't really step off of a sex change.
Not really, no. And it's I have my own, like, I'm allowed to be freaked out by it. Doesn't mean that I'm phobic, but I feel like I'm allowed to be freaked out by some of the things that I've seen, experienced, and some of the stories that other people have told me. I'm not an intolerant person. The only thing that I ask that people be is a little bit fun. Be a little bit fun and try to lighten up a little bit. You know what I mean? Don't take yourself so seriously that you can't laugh at yourself. Those are the people that I don't like. I don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white. If you can't laugh at yourself, if you're not a little bit fun, if you can't joke around a little bit, then I don't care.
Well, that's why pride. That's why pride is a sin. I think that's why pride comes before the fall, because you stop learning. You just shut yourself off completely, and you're not receptive to anybody else's perspective, or it just becomes an extreme form of narcissism and selfishness and blindness.
I feel like I've gotten way off topic.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we're gonna be doing this. So we're gonna come back and have like. We're going to do this a few times, right? We'll come back together and speak a few times. So, you know, if we get off track, we can always kind of jump back on track when we come back and talk. But yeah, do you want to kind of get back on track a little bit now before we finish?
Yeah, finish. Let's go through the questions that you had, and we'll discuss off air where we should head with this.
But you want to go through the questions now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, so so essentially, like, we've barely gotten into the main kind of topic here. So what? So you basically had the same approach when it came to, because then you went to somewhere in it was England, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just had the same kind of general approach. You're just going to go there and just kind of be an opposing force and see what happens.
I mean, that was something that just sort of came about. I'd been to England a couple of times before. I didn't really see it as a super dangerous place, even though it is. And I have a kind of a fascination with them. So it just seemed kind of a natural, like there was definitely something at my back the entire time. There was something that made all of this really easy. I mean, all the really difficult stuff that had to happen in order for me to get out of the country without a bunch of hangups behind me just happened. Like just pop, 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 pop. It seems like there was some invisible force making things easier on me, so that everything that I needed to have happened right when I needed it to happen. And it was rides to the airport, getting somebody else in my apartment, getting everything cleaned up, getting things put away, you know, just everything just boom, 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 right in a row, and it was done. You might have to put me back on track on this one a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, that was God, right? You would say?
What's that?
That was probably God.
God
opinion?
and perhaps someone from an alphabet agency, because there were some interesting things that happened to me towards the end of when I was living. Incidentally, I was living in Charlottesville, Virginia, where all of the sort of fighting about the, you know, where the Trump fight manifests itself into, you know, wanton murder, people beating the crap out of each other. You know, Chris Cantwell, the YouTuber, is still in prison because of what he did there. The guy who ran over the girl and killed her, he's going to be in prison probably for life.
Yeah.
He's begging for forgiveness or at least some leniency on his sentencing. They, of course, don't want to give that to him. No, my tactic isn't to show up in somebody else's country and piss them off. I had been harassed for several years. I made a video. I was harassed in that comment section, but never paid attention to it. A year later, somebody showed me the comment section. I went back and looked at it and was like, well, screw you. So I made 2 more videos, and that's it, about this one particular case that I'm not going to mention right now. And they just from those videos, it just snowballed. I was accused of getting the hype surrounding the case going again, which I was just telling people to kiss off. That, you know, they accused me of being a pedophile. That's the first thing they do, is if you go up against that notion, they accuse you of being one. And then they accuse, like, I'm fairly thin. I mean, I'm actually in pretty good shape right now, but I'm fairly thin. And at the time I was always using cannabis. So what they did was they made up a rumor that I was a methamphetamine addict. And that is ridiculous that, I don't know, 100 or 200 activists have all gotten involved in the same thing. They're all pedophiles and methamphetamine. They're all bad people. What are the odds, you know?
Yeah.
Basically what they do is anybody who gets involved in that case, they just try to character assassinate. They just do assassinations of character, and they get the police involved whenever they can. They're like little snitchy bastards. They have no honor at all. All they know is try to get somebody else in trouble. And it doesn't make you look, it doesn't exonerate you whatsoever to try to get other people in trouble.
Yeah.
It's my opinion.
Sure. So, so you went over there, and do you want to just kind of quickly give a rundown of what happened, what your experiences were? Like, what did you come across? Did you uncover anything?
Well, I basically got put in the middle of a to fix my white balance. I got put in the middle kind of a fight of a I was shown everybody's work. One of the reasons that I got in trouble in court was because I had a file that was somebody else compiled this file, but I got a copy of it and it happened to be sitting on my hard drive. So I got in trouble for somebody else's research, basically. It's part of it. But what did I see? Well, first of all, I stayed with a fan, someone who had been watching my videos and listening to my radio broadcasts since like 2010. So they had known who I was for at least 5 or 6 years. And so I stayed with that because a bunch of people in England offered me a place to stay, but this one dude was situated in London, on the outskirts, southeast London, and he seemed to be most similar to me. So I got a better vibe from him than the other people. So I just went and stayed with him. And I stayed there probably a little bit longer than I should have in the beginning. I was getting ready to leave, and then I just wanted to go. I wanted to go to the original site of where all this supposedly this particular case went down. So I went over there just to put eyes on it, just to be like, okay, so this is a real place. And while I was there, I pulled out my video camera and made a video, something to the tune of, they said they were going to kill me. Like they kept saying they were going to murder me. And I just went over there. I was like, all right, murder me then. Like if you've got balls, I'll come right. I went right. They knew where I was. They knew I was in the country. Didn't make any, I wasn't sneaky about that. I told them I was coming in. I made a video from my friend's backyard, and they call it a garden. And through the appearance of one steeple in the background, they were able to figure out where I was, which is total bull. They had some intelligence service watching me the entire time. And all they did was they let me come in and they let me do just enough and to get freaked out enough to say or do something that they could just clamp down on me. And so they arrested me on September 13th, 2016. I was taken in for questioning, and then they took my passport and they took all my equipment, which sucked really bad. And so I was there for 11 months. Somebody gave me a Apple computer the next day. It was funny, like just somebody that I met. I went over to visit them, and I was sitting on their couch, and I wasn't focusing on what we were talking about. I was like, I just can't believe they got my computer. Like, it's actually this computer. And she came out of one of her bedrooms, I guess, and she said, well, what did you use? Did you use a Windows machine or an Apple? And I said, well, it was an Apple. And she just said, you can borrow this. And she just gave me another Apple to use. So I had another computer to use while I was there because they took it. So I was in and out of, I had to go to magistrate's court 3 times. Every time it got escalated up, I had the unfortunate sweaty experience of trying to find a barrister to take the case, which I actually finally did. And then they dropped a couple of the charges, but they wouldn't let me leave. And they made me go through court. Like, the only reason I did any of that was because they were making me do it. So I went through court. They set aside 5 days for the trial. It took 6, and it was 4 days. And then there was a 4-day weekend, and then 2 more days of trial / sentencing. So it was over a total of 10 days. Like, I was only supposed to be in court for 5, but because this 4-day weekend happened in the middle, and then there was an extra day tacked on, it was all done kangaroo court style. It was all BS. They didn't listen to my side at all. They played my side way down, and they just blew their side all the way up. And the judge said it had to be unanimous, and then he just changed it. It just needs a simple majority. Like, they kept changing the rules as they went along, and it was just, I wish that they had just, but then they wouldn't even count the 11 months that I got stuck there without having a job. They didn't count that. They were like, okay, now you got to go to prison. And they gave me 9 months in prison. You serve half. So 4.5 months in prison, and then however long it takes for the home office to deport you, because I was a deportee. So basically, I was in their system for 5 whole months from the end of August until January of the following year. So 2017, I didn't see from September of 2016 all the way till January 2018. They had me. And it was just a 500 some odd day long adventure of trying to get the hell out of there without getting killed.
So, so a couple things, couple thoughts. So, I mean, based on what happened, I mean, there clearly is something going on. If they have this kind of defense ready, I mean, they are on it. They are on watch.
The barrister who, because when you get in trouble, when you get a case over there, you have a solicitor and a barrister. The solicitor handles like the admin stuff, gets things in order, and then they tap a barrister or they pay a barrister to come in and argue on your behalf. The barrister has the they have the license to go in and argue in court. So you basically have 2 lawyers, and they handle different levels, you know. And I covered my bases on a lot of stuff. So the 2 barristers had to sit in a room and just go, well, there's this, and I gave them everything they needed. It was just like, well, he said this, so that's cancels out. So they ended up, it was a show trial. They ended up coming with 3 things to pin on me. 7 charges in the beginning, 2 were dropped in the middle, so 5 charges, and then I was only convicted on 2 of the charges, and then they, you know, they threw that at me. But I'm not the only one. There's been dozens and dozens of people in the same position, but I was treated especially rough by the system, and it was pretty brutal. I mean, they didn't listen to me. They didn't care to understand that what I did, one, wouldn't have been illegal in America. I had no idea. You know, there was no, all right, you silly kid, get out of here. And even the judge was like, no, we're not just going to let you go, because they have an inability, I think, to be they have an inability to behave fairly. That's why America has the laws it has. It's not because we think these would be good laws. We just hated the way England did things.
Who is they?
Still do things, and that's why our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence reads like it does. It's because basically England is the epitome of unfairness. They just, if they want it to go a certain way, if they want to rig it a certain way, they're clever enough to do it, but they're so clever that they're stupid. If that makes any sense. Their machinations are so, they're just doing whatever the most highly convenient thing is for them at that moment. And that really it'll eventually screw them in the long run. There's people who are not happy about the way that I was treated. These are British folk, not happy about the way I was treated. And there's, as far as I understand, there's still some action being taken. So it's not completely over yet.
Okay. So, so it's also clear that they are set up to deal with anybody quickly and efficiently who starts to cause even a hint of trouble.
Yeah. If you want to call about a year until you get a trial for something stupid like harassment via the internet with the intention of violence, telling me what my intentions are when I've had my life threatened. We had people, I had my family back home getting harassed.
It's like a pre-crime almost.
It's a pre-crime or a thought crime.
Yeah.
But okay, so they were watching me so intently, so I would say and do little things to make them go, oh, but I was just, if you're gonna come after me, I'm just gonna say a bunch of shit so that you'll stop. People don't get that. So, well, that's in a nutshell what happened. And I didn't start that fire. None of that was my fault. I was just responding in a mammalian way to having my life threatened. We're permitted, like Americans are permitted to go to England, English people are permitted to come to America. It's not like I broke some kind of international law in going over there.
Yeah.
And then when they started they started really ramping up their harassment against me and my family back home once I was there. Nobody seemed to care about any of that, which was weird to me.
Nobody, as in what? Friends, or what do you mean?
My family got seriously harassed. I mean, they were gloating. What you would call in the psychological world, you'd call it duper's delight. When you dupe somebody and then you're kind of like about it. They were, engaging in what you would call duper's delight, meaning rubbing it in your face that they had gotten their way with you, but still playing the part of the victim
to the public.
Yeah, they're acting like, oh my God, he scared me. All they did was they knew exactly what they needed to say to match up to the law to inflict maximum damage. Now, these were supposedly just neighborhood Christian people who got something said about them that wasn't true. Well, where's the turn the other cheek? If you're just good Christian people, where's the turn the other cheek? Where's the forgiveness? Where's the understanding? Where's the, but who would Jesus exaggerate about and lie about in a court of law to have a worse sentence thrown at them? Nobody wouldn't do that. It's not Christian behavior.
How many people that call themselves Christians nowadays do you think are actually Christian?
I don't know. That's a tough one. There's a lot of there are people who are Christian only so that they can ask for forgiveness for the really screwed up things that they do. I mean, I really believe that. Or they were just brought up that way. They were brought up Christian and now they're Christian.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want me to just run down a couple more questions real quick? Sure. I think one of the biggest questions is, do you have any insights on what we do about this now?
Yeah, basically two things. Don't give a lot of credit when they catch a lone wolf pedophile. It's when you catch these, because they keep calling NXIVM a sex cult. NXIVM is not a sex cult. NXIVM is a human trafficking, child trafficking cult. They're just calling it a sex cult so people won't freak out. When they catch these lone wolf pedophiles, give them a pat on the back, but they're usually just chucking somebody up to make it look like they're doing their job.
It's like a sacrifice to appease the people.
Correct. And it also makes it seem like the police are doing everything that they can do to stop it. And in many cases, they are. Okay. But what needs to happen is people need to come to terms with it. Stop being freaked out by talking about it because it's super uncomfortable to talk about. Stop, people who've been victims need to step forward and point fingers for sure. And people who are really into this stuff, and especially on a level where there's multiple people involved, they need to be brought to justice. And the best way to have that happen is to demand coverage, demand that people are going to cover the stories. NXIVM it was just kind of talked about a little bit, but that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. What they had to look, there were jurors that started crying because they had to look at this dude's disgusting kiddie porn collection or parts of it during the trial. So this is not a joke. What people need to do is get over the taboo of talking about it. Everybody has decided they hate these people. They hate people who are engaged in it, and we all agree that it's wrong. But we need to see past party lines on this and prosecute and go after everybody who seems like, I don't know, set up sting operations. Do what it is that you can do to out these people, and be very careful about implicating people who don't. Just because somebody gets accused of something doesn't mean they actually did it. A lot of times people will use the media to try to smear somebody. Somebody needs to make sure that these things are being handled properly and that people aren't being set up. But on the other hand, you got to make sure that justice is coming towards the people, and especially upper level people. I mean, you look in England, Cyril Smith, the MP, I think he might have had a position higher than that. I can't remember. I don't care. He was a massive rapist of children. And he went unchecked until he died. And then the second he died, then everybody was like, yeah, he raped this guy, he raped me, he raped this, he's a big rapist. And everybody's like, oh my God, that guy was a rapist. Okay, it's the same thing with Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile dies, and everybody's like, yeah, he's a straight up jerk. You know, he just did whatever he felt like with the leeway he had been given in society. He just abused that. He used that leeway and his talents to he would visit jails, he would visit children's homes, he would visit children's hospitals. He was just had his talons and anything that he could get in. Then when he dies, everybody's like, yeah, he was a total pedophile. But I guess in English pedophile club, there are no, you know, don't talk about it. But in death, a member of Project Pedophile has a name, and his name is Robert Paulson, or his name is Cyril Smith, or his name is Jimmy Savile. It's a pattern, especially there. Nobody wants to admit that these people are doing what they're doing until they're dead. So vigilance, understanding of the nature of this thing is massively important.
Yes. Yeah, and I would say, if I can chime in, I would say simply just normal people, like me, like just doing what we're doing now. Like I'm not, I don't do interviews, you know. We just know each other, and we just feel it's important to start talking about it. And I think if more people really realized, you know, how much power there is in just having conversations in front of other people about this stuff, that would go a long way. And the other thing too is with these people who are, you know, you're saying nobody wants to talk about it till these people are dead. It's like, yeah, that's why you don't have two masters. You know, as it says in the Bible, you don't serve God and money, because these people are probably serving money and power, and maybe there's connections with these people that they don't want to speak about while they're alive, something like that maybe. But look, you just have to have your principles in order. You have to serve the truth and not money and power and prestige, you know, so-called prestige. But we just need to start speaking out more. People need to realize, you know, we need to stop being so scared, and take our power back. There's like, just we hold the power if we choose to hold the power.
I'm looking at the chat. There's some people in the chat talking about, one person says pedovores are Satanists. Yeah, those are people who eat children. And that's an unfortunate thing to have to consider, but it seems more and more like this satanic panic claim isn't going to hold up forever, because there's some people who do eat people.
Yeah,
there's a lot more stuff I have to talk to. Like, I found out more about cannibalism in the past couple of years than I thought I would ever know. I've had people come up to me in a specific place and say, yeah, there's people here that eat people. And I was just like, oh my God, are you threatening me right now, bro? The guy was like, no. That's another story. And then there's another chatter here. Kicker Thighs. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It says you're forgetting the former Prime Minister Heath. Yeah, and then there was Dennis Hastert. He was the Speaker of the House, and he was involved in massive amounts of child rape, pedophilia, super illegal activities.
And it's like these are the ones that we know of. These guys are all linked up together. It's like they all party together, right? For the most part. Like,
I mean,
so many gay pedophile Masons in power.
well, the whole Mason thing, that's a difficult one to talk about, because I've known some that were just normal people who just, you know, they were helpful, normal people.
Sure.
I'm sure that there are people, they're just like there's bad people in every group. So yeah, but they might use the secrecy of their organization and the fact that they do have a fraternal brotherhood.
Yes.
Especially in higher levels, have to cover up the fact that they're involved in Luciferianism, Satanism, or even, like the person in the chat said, being a pedovore, which I think is a hilarious way of putting that, but it actually kind of it makes sense. And then this person says, look into adrenochrome. I don't need to look into adrenochrome. I even know where to buy adrenochrome. I know where to buy. I've looked into it so much that I know where to buy synthetic adrenochrome.
Oh, it's synthetic?
Mm-hmm. They make it in China. It's like $700 a gram.
Huh.
That's a lot of money, dude. That's way more than Coke.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's like 10 times the price of Coke. But I think that it's sort of like an evil DMT, this adrenochrome thing. But let's face it, there is a drug inside your brain that is produced when people do. I've talked about this ad nauseum. Yes, you can freak somebody out really bad. Yes, you can kill them, and at the moment that you kill them, they release some kind of crazy adrenaline called adrenochrome, and you drink their blood, and you get high as hell off of it.
Okay.
If you study random cannibals, like the one that served time in France and then was released, you'll discover that once you start down that road of actually consuming human flesh, you don't want to eat anything else. Same thing in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer. Once he had his first bit of human meat, that's pretty much the only thing he ate up until he got caught. Luckily, he got caught because there would still be a problem in Milwaukee if some old, like, he'd be old by now, but some old dude would be tricking people to come back into his apartment, because all that was when they caught him, all that was in his refrigerator was a head in a box. And there was condiments like A1 sauce, ketchup, mustard, and some peppers and onions. And the detectives were right. So, were you cooking people with the peppers and onions? He was like, yeah. And like once you start down that route, regular food does not appeal to you at all. You just want that rush of eating somebody, because there's people have an inherent power. I mean, everybody's got some kind of a power. So when these people step forward, we got a lot of messages that are being held for review. It sounds like probably threats or people saying really screwed up stuff that they're not supposed to say. Here's another point. Kuru, the disease, and Angela Merkel's shaking. Yeah, I understand that could be the case. Same thing with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton looked like she had Kuru. Kuru's a disease that we can pinpoint in the area of Papua New Guinea, where people eat their elders after they die because they want to absorb them, and then that leads to a very degenerative disease called Kuru. And then somebody from Mad Turkey Productions says, "What in the fuck knuckle did I walk into?" This is the internet, okay? If you don't like what you're seeing, just go watch an Elton John video or go read CNN.com.
So
Mad Turkey Productions says, as if they disagree with what I'm saying. Like, pull up then, son. Like, you want to come say it to my come get stupid in my face. You know what I mean?
Well, look, man, we have to realize that this stuff is so insane that the only thing that we can hope for is to plant seeds. We're certainly not going to see any fruitful results from people who are unfamiliar with this stuff because it sounds insane. We're literally talking about literal vampires.
Vampirism, actual cannibalism, and then people who are getting sick off of it. Like, that's weird. Okay, so Mad Turkey Productions. Sorry, Mad Turkey Productions. You were being cool. You said no, it's interesting. But yeah, the gentleman or lady that's above that said look into adrenochrome. It's not spelled like they spelled it. They were close, but go look into it. It's been a topic for the last 3 years. 2 years, people have really been digging into this. I think that Hunter Thompson was murdered. If you read the first page of Hey Rube, his last novel that came out, which was a compilation of articles he was writing for ESPN2, it was called Page 2. Actually, no, writing for ESPN was called Page 2. In the first article on the first page, he makes this comment that it's Christmas time and the elite purchase children and give them to each other for gifts. 5 months after that, he was dead. It came out in October of 2004, and in February, he was dead, which is very suspicious to me that he would say something like that, making it seem like a joke, but we all know it's not a joke because 300,000 kids at least go missing in this country. So that's per annum. That's per year. So
what do you make of Isaac Cappy? Did you see that video that?
I think he was chiming in on a trend. Really, I think he got caught up in a trend. So let's go ahead and answer a couple more questions and then start to wrap this. Let's. I hate to be a party pooper, but
no, this is good. This is a good start. I mean, we've been talking.
Yeah, we'll do another one of these, and then we've got people who are wanting to get. I don't know, kiker thighs or kicker thighs or whatever your name is. You can look me up on. Just give me your email address or something like that. I'll email you, and then we can discuss off air what it is you want to talk about. And then there's a shadow guy behind me. There's a shadow behind you, guy in the hat and bluish shirt. I'm Rupert. Yeah, there's a shadow behind me. Who knows? I've seen some crazy stuff in my life.
Yeah, that's nonsense. Do you want to? I just want to mention real quick. If anybody wants to, come out and have a conversation like this with me, I'm trying to get into interviewing people like this on my little YouTube channel. So if anybody's watching this and they have some information that they want to expose, I have a small but slowly growing platform on YouTube. So that option is there. It's Ash Rock of Truth on YouTube. Just type in Ash as in ashes and then Rock of Truth, and you can contact me there.
Cool, dude. Any more questions? Are we going to cover any more questions? Or did you have any?
From my side?
Yeah.
That's all the comments, yeah. Yeah, I suppose... well, okay. How about... I don't know if you want to really get into this, but I was just going to ask you if you uncovered any essentially big name organizations that we should be kind of keeping an eye on or maybe taking a look into as a result of your experiences.
I mean, the best thing that you can do is go after as many sources as possible and find out what this stuff is happening, and then try to do your best to share it with other people. This NXIVM thing is, you wouldn't even believe it. It seems like nobody's going untouched by this. We've got names are coming up like the Dalai Lama, Michael Jordan, even the actor Gerard Butler. We've got Ashton Kutcher, maybe even Jennifer Aniston or Brad Pitt. I mean, there's people who are involved. There's 15,000 NXIVM members. There are.
So what exactly is NXIVM?
Well, NXIVM was a group of people. As far as I can tell, I haven't done full research into this. It's been difficult for me. It's hard for me to look at some of the stuff that comes up, but
yeah,
mostly they were procurement of children hiding in plain sight. Procurement of children hiding in plain sight, basically.
Okay.
And they had education centers for children, probably for richer parents, but they were using mind control techniques to get the kids to start down this path of mind control type stuff. So I think we should wrap this up. Okay. At least at this point. Maybe we can do another one this evening, or we'll do another one tomorrow, but we'll do a few of these at least and then see how that goes. If there's some other people that want to expand this operation and chime in with us, then probably be more than glad to have you. But I should run. I got some stuff I got to do, so
okay.
Should probably run.
Okay, man. Well, this has been good, and thanks, dude. Thanks for, I mean this. Thanks for doing what you did, and thanks for continuing to put yourself out there and stand up for the truth.
Yeah, the people in the comment section definitely like our channels, like this channel, and then we'll be broadcasting through here again. I will give Adam the one person's email address because he can't see the chat. He can go in and look at the chat afterwards.
Okay.
But I've got the one email address. So yeah, stuff connected to Little Rock, the Franklin case. It's just there's so many little cases that have gone on, and they're all connected. It's all connected to the same thing, and that's the abuse of children and whatever that's for. So I'm gonna end the broadcast. Thank you, Adam, for interviewing me and being our lead on this today, even though it's on my channel. And that's it. We'll get into more later, and I bid you a good day, and I'll talk to you off air, and I'll talk to some of you other guys off air as well.
Okay, sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I will see you at some point in the very near future.
Okay, sounds good.
Peace, man.
Okay, see you.